Customized just for you. Their wedding specialist will help you plan your dream wedding today. For more information, visit kaanapaliweddings.com or call 661-0011. Kaanapali Weddings, the perfect place to say, I do.
Kaanapali Beach Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel.
Hello, CRN listeners. This is Michael Horn, inviting you to join me and my co-host, Sommelier Nicole Nielsen from Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, as we present What's Cooking on Wine. Find out about the latest trends in wine, great food, spirits, and a whole lot more. It's What's Cooking on Wine, done live at 6 o'clock Monday nights at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in Pasadena, California, and then the replays throughout the weekend right here on CRN. So if you love wine and you love great food, it's What's Cooking on Wine right here on CRN.
Welcome to Divine Love Talk with Dr. Parthenia Grant, where we talk about health, well-being, and the love of the divine that exists in all of us. Now, here's your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant.
No, you're not on camera. I have another exciting show lined up today, and I think a very important show because I grew up as a victim of severe domestic violence, child abuse. I mean, it was just rampant, widespread. And, you know, what was very interesting was this conspiracy of silence. So today's show is breaking the conspiracy of silence on domestic violence. And I have joining me online from San Francisco, Dr. Joseph Bryant, who is he is the pastor of Calvary Hill Community Church in San Francisco. He's a life coach. He's the national director of Rainbow Push Sport. And he works very closely with a lot of athletes. And there is, you know, domestic violence within those relationships, you know, a lot of big headlines, you know, over the years with murder and all kinds of craziness. So men in sports are no exception to the problem with domestic violence. And Dr. Joseph Bryan has a community outreach program to help women at his church. He has counselors there. And so I want to welcome Dr. Joseph Bryan. Can you hear me, Dr. Bryan?
I sure can. Good morning.
Good morning. I have Sheila listening in studio. She says hello.
Great. Fantastic.
Good morning. Okay.
Good morning.
All right. So, Dr. Bryant, you know, you and I touched on it a little bit earlier this week about the importance of men holding each other accountable, because you would think, okay, look, at my age now, growing up in the 60s, that things really would have improved, but it hasn't. And I think that it's critical for men in leadership positions like yourself, you know, who's responsible for, you know, a community church and who you're working with men very closely. I think it's wonderful, you know, the work that you're doing. And I'd like you to talk about that whole concept of how men can hold each other accountable when they know that a friend of theirs or a family member has anger management issues, or if they even suspect that domestic violence is going on, because there's still this conspiracy of silence, and I'm sure you encounter that a lot, where you suspect that something is going on, but you know nobody wants to talk about it.
Right. Great way to introduce the conversation, and thank you for raising it, because it's such an important issue to address. And as you mentioned, there has been just an ongoing, unfortunate covering of this reality happening in so many different circles of our society. And there is a great need for men to hold each other accountable and to be a part of accountability circles, whereby not only is there a sense where if there's a problem that you are having, this is a place where we're going to help you get the help that you need, give some support to your family, but on a larger scale, being preventive and proactive about teaching men how to have healthy relationships, teaching
Yeah.
men how to respect themselves so that they can respect women appropriately, teaching men that chivalry did not have to die, that there can still be some very respectable ways that are honorable and
Yes.
really make you more of a man to be able to treat women with honor. And that
Yes.
goes from mothers, grandmothers, sisters, cousins, extended family, and then, of course, significant others, and then
Yes.
your daughters. And so a lot of the things that I do with men is in that very vein, that I want to teach men the value of respect and honor for women. The fact that we are in a society where men have consistently failed on so many levels because of whether it's the issues of abuse or absentee fathers
Yes.
or various other ills that are a part of our world, to teach men that it is important for us to step up and to fulfill our God-given roles, to fulfill our roles in our community, in our society, congregations, workplace. That's a lot of what I think helps to get men in a better space,
Yeah.
to improve their emotional makeup and mindset about how they treat women in general. And when there is an issue, to also let them know that we want to give people the help that they need, give men the assistance that they need if there are some issues with anger management, if there are some issues with some unresolved conflict internally that gets them to a place of bordering on or going into violent attacks and or abusive approaches. We want to be able to offer that support as well.
Well, I'm just so delighted to hear that you actually have counselors within your community organization that are trained and competent and ready, willing, and able to address this need, because it's a trickle-down effect. Even if the children are not being physically abused in a situation where they're listening to the emotional or they're witnessing the physical battering of the mother, it has this trickle-down effect, and it's very traumatizing for the children. And it's just, there are just not enough people that are competent, that are trained, and that even want to deal with it. And there's this huge system of denial that let's not talk about. I'm from the South, and they would say, "No, we don't air our dirty laundry." And
Right.
it's like, okay, but if we don't bring it to the table and have some transparency here, then how do we keep the children safe?
That's right.
And the other thing, and I don't know if you address this at all, but there was a startling statistic that I found when I was doing my doctorate on personality disorders, which said that 85% of men who batter are personality disorders. Now, the interesting thing about personality disorders, and when you take it to a spiritual level, is there's some type of, there's also within that 85% who batter, there's alcohol abuse.
Right.
They smoke, they drink,
Right.
they do drugs. And so I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that alcohol is called spirits.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why to be able to teach healthy habits, to be able to help men focus on what it's going to take to keep them centered. I'm, not only here in our congregation, which I'm very grateful, our men's group in our church over the years. I've been senior pastor for 20 years, and we've
Wow.
always prioritized investing in and discipling of men, and so that they can fulfill their rightful place, their God-given place as leaders and as people who are of positive contributors to their families and communities, and so oftentimes because of these other habits, we are able to help men before things accelerate. If we get the sense that a man is beginning to have other challenges, other mental health issues, other addiction behaviors. And in our congregation, we have so many men who have come out of that life. I just mentioned last week during our Father's Day celebration weekend, I mentioned the fact that, we for years have been involved with recovery programs and had outreaches and connections to homes here in San Francisco that house men in transition. We'd bring them to church. We would help them to build healthy relationships relationships and healthier habits. And so we have tried to create an environment where the mindset of men is different, so that when any time there is a breach or breaking or even potential altering of what's healthy, if you're starting to struggle, there's a way for us to be able to not only assess but to have checks and balances, whether it's through our men's group, through our Sunday school, through our counseling groups, through and then, as I mentioned to you earlier in the week, we do offer certified counseling. We do have referral programs if it goes beyond the realm of comfortability here in the church. We have organizations here in San Francisco that we work with that are involved in psychotherapy, that take it a little bit further with a more aggressive way of dealing with mind, body, and soul. And then we also have relationships with places where women can go that are safe havens.
Well, thank goodness, yes.
We have a great relationship with an organization called A Safe Place, and actually the NFL Players Association of Northern California that I'm an advisor for, they are actively involved in A Safe Place, and their president, Doug Holly, has spoken at their events, and they're members of the NFLPA Northern California who attend some of their ongoing fundraisers, information rallies, outreaches to the community, just to give a visible witness to the fact that, even though we are protecting women through this safe place, it's men who have to take responsibility and have to be visibly involved in assuring that we all want to do better and then influence other men to do likewise.
Wow. Well, I'm definitely familiar with A Safe Place, and I was just getting ready to ask you if you had a means of protecting the children, because when they're on drugs or they're full-fledged alcoholics, that they're entities. I call them entities and spirit attachments that just take over them, and they're not their authentic self when they're under the influence of alcohol or drugs. So I'm a firm believer in dealing with the first cause, which is the addiction, and so much of and I cover addiction a lot on the show because it's a spiritual problem. It's people who become addicted, they're really searching for God in some kind of way. It's like a substitute for the lack of God. And so when we can help them get in touch with the fact that they are a spiritual being having a human experience and encourage them, to find a relationship with the divine, with God, whatever they want to call it, it really can help them move out of that addiction. But in terms of, helping men communicate better, because often there's a real communication problem in terms of, this viewpoint that women should just, be seen and not heard like children in the South. There's the suppression of the feminine voice, and there's still this preponderance of men not wanting women to step up and be equal to them. How do you deal with that perspective of men seeing women as partners?
Great question. Great question. We changed the language a lot, and by that I mean we use the term you just used, partner. We talk a lot about equal partners. We talk a lot about the healthy balance between men and women and the contributions of both, the unique giftings of both men and women, and the fact that God created us to have a picturesque, beautiful relationship that's like a puzzle. And a puzzle piece in and of itself is not complete until the other piece is connected. But single pieces are always whole in and of themselves. And so we talk about the wholeness of one man and one woman. We talk about the strengths of a man and a woman and what they both bring to the table. And oftentimes the things that are needed on one side or the other is how God equips our mate, our significant other, to balance us. And so, a wife who has more communication skills and or more organized, or is a better bookkeeper, connected with a brother who has, a great work ethic but couldn't, add, 5 plus 5, his life depended on it. God has a way of giving us
gifts,
the abilities that we need.
Dr. Bryant.
He makes us one, yes.
Dr. Bryant, I'm sorry, we have to go to commercial break, but you're on a roll, and we're going to pick up after commercial break.
No problem.
So hang
right
on,
here.
hang on there. Do you have a website where people can get in touch with you?
They sure can. They can go to josephbryantjr.com.
All right, we're talking to Dr. Bryant, and we'll be back with more of his wisdom on breaking the conspiracy of silence on domestic violence. You're listening to Divine Love Talk. I am your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant.
Try Fry Vineyards, the Mendocino County organic wine with no sulfites added. Fry Wines, America's pioneering organic winery. They were the first to go organic, the first maker of certified biodynamic wines in the United States. At Fry Wines, our emphasis is on producing organic wine of the highest quality while caring for our planet and palate alike. Check out our website at frywine.com and join the Fry Vineyards Wine Club. You'll receive 20% off all orders and much more. Plus, you can check out our internet-only specials. Great biodynamic wines from Redwood Valley in Mendocino County, California. Fry Wines. Go to frywine.com. That's FREYWINE. Fry Wine. FREYWINE.com. Check it out and enjoy great wines at your home tonight.
Hi, friends. This is Larry Minetti. Go to LarryMinetti.com to get my book, Aloha Magnum. You'll read all about the wonderful guest stars like Carol Burnett, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, and many, many more. Also, there is an episode guide and my favorite recipes that I really cook at home. I will include a free signed photo with every book. Get Aloha Magnum at LarryMinetti.com. Order now. Aloha.
Ka'anapali Beach Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel.
Located in the heart of Maui's premier resort, Ka'anapali Beach Hotel is officially recognized as Hawaii's most Hawaiian hotel and the #1 best value in Hawaii. With a range of accommodations and affordable dining options, this is the ideal setting to turn Hawaiian dreams into lifelong memories. Live Hawaiian entertainment every evening, free year-round children's programs, weekly arts and crafts fairs, welcome breakfast, and departure kukui lei ceremonies add to the value. Swim in the whale-shaped pool, indulge in the fabulous spa and hotel salon. Enjoy Hawaiian hospitality at its best at the Ka'anapali Beach Hotel. Call 800-262-8450 or go to kbhmaui.com. That's kbhmaui.com. Aloha.
Ka'anapali Beach Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. With one phone call, you'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information. It's a free service, so call now.
Call now, 800-704-6182, 800-704-6182.
We're back with more of Breaking the Conspiracy of Silence with Dr. Bryan. And Dr. Bryan?
I'm here.
All right. You were on a roll. Okay, we were talking about communication. And,
Sure.
and I know you've noticed that in situations of domestic violence, there is this inability to actually just listen, actively listen and not react to a situation when someone says something. And there's also this sort of like a lid on the truth. Like if you tell them the truth about what they're doing, then it produces this extreme anger. So I'd like for you to talk just a little bit about how you can diffuse that and create more appreciation and awareness for open, honest, transparent communication and a willingness to look at your faults, because if you're not willing to look at them, you can't grow spiritually.
So many times it is difficult for people to communicate in the heat of the moment.
Yes.
Or when they are already in a position where they are being accused and they have a sense of defensiveness that
Yes.
immediately comes, that they are already on the defense because the scenario has brought them to a certain place. And so
Right.
when questions are asked, then they have a wall. And I find that that goes both ways oftentimes with
Sure.
both men and women.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so
yeah. It's
we
universal.
encourage healthy dialogue in less stressful situations. We talk about relationships a lot. We talk about, especially among our men, and not only in our congregation, but I'm a part of a national men's group that was started by ESPN NBA analyst Chris Broussard, and
Okay.
it's called King. It's for knowledge, inspiration, nurture through God, and
All
it's
right.
a national men's organization, and we have a weekly prayer group that does a conference call, and there are generally 20 to 30 men on the call from around the country. And the reason we have this call is to inspire and encourage each other, but also to remind each other to do the things that we're supposed to do as men. We remind ourselves to be the leaders that God has called us to be and to fulfill our God-given purpose. And as we continue to communicate consistently in positive ways, then it's easier for people to be open when the conversation isn't as positive.
Yeah.
And so I try to get as many opportunities to talk to men, talk to the athletes that I work with, talk with the King movement brothers around the country, many of whom are in corporate America or in ministry, or some of them are executives in sports, and then, of course, men in the congregation. But the more they talk and the more they are loved when they're not feeling the pressure, the easier it is for them to communicate when the pressure is actually on. And oftentimes, as happens to me very frequently, brothers will call or text me when they sense that they've gone beyond the frame of, where you're supposed to be.
Yeah,
So,
I'm in trouble now.
Being a life coach, that's what I encourage people that, before you get to that place, before it actually crosses the line, please call me.
Yeah.
In years past, I've had guys, call me 30 minutes before something went down and it was going to be all over the news. And I said, well, that's a little bit too late. So try to get to me. Try to get to me before that happens, because it's hard to do damage control if it's going to be on Sports Center. But I can help a whole lot more if you get to me as soon as you feel that things are escalating.
Yes.
And for brothers to know it's okay to walk away, because it's
Yes.
better to walk away with things unresolved than to stay too long and to do something you'll regret.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing probably more valuable than that little bit of advice. I actually have my ministerial license. I don't really use it. I married one of my former students yesterday.
Oh,
And-
wonderful.
Yeah, and I spoke when I spoke at the wedding, I talked about the importance, I did the the 1 Corinthians 13, on love, and then I went into the 5 love languages and how important it was to speak to your beloved in their love language.
Yes,
And
yes.
the rest, everybody came up later and said, "Oh my God, thank you so much for just talking about that," because it's so important for people to understand how to communicate in a way that the person feels loved.
That's right.
So when
Absolutely.
we come back from commercial break, I'd like for us to talk about a little bit about the 5 love languages in
Would
terms
love
of
to.
communication and the 4 agreements, because I find those very helpful in my practice.
Excellent.
You're listening to Dr. Bryan, and we're talking about breaking the conspiracy of silence. He is the pastor of Calvary Hill Community Church in San Francisco, Dr. Joseph Bryan. And your website again?
JosephBryantJr.com.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Experience a luxury boutique hotel escape in the heart of Laguna Beach, California, with the finest art gallery, shopping, dining, and nightlife just steps from your door. The heart of Laguna Beach, the edge of the sea. It's the Inn at Laguna Beach. Enjoy our comfortable rooms, blending the style of a timeless beach bungalow with the modern comforts of today. 70 newly appointed guest rooms and suites await you at the Inn at Laguna Beach. Then, relax at the rooftop bar, where you'll indulge in breathtaking views of the ocean. For dining, you'll find libations and local cuisine on the California coastline, including dining at the legendary Las Brisas, a Southern California landmark. The Inn at Laguna Beach, footsteps from room to village to sea, located in the heart of Laguna Beach. The Inn is within walking distance of all that Laguna Beach has to offer. No car required. The Inn at Laguna Beach, 211 North Coast Highway in Laguna Beach, California. Call 800-544-4479 or visit innatlagunabeach.com.
Hi, friends. This is Larry Manetti. Go to LarryManetti.com to get my book, Aloha Magnum. You'll read all about the wonderful guest stars like Carol Burnett, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, and many, many more. Also, there is an episode guide and my favorite recipes that I really cook at home. I will include a free signed photo with every book. Get Aloha Magnum at LarryManetti.com. Order now. Aloha.
CRN listeners, when you come to Southern California, stop by a great restaurant, the Dresden Restaurant at 1760 North Vermont Avenue in Hollywood. Enjoy great entertainment, like the music of the legendary Marty and Elaine at the world-famous Dresden Restaurant. The Dresden was a location for the making of the movie Swingers. Now you can swing with stars Marty and Elaine. Plus, enjoy great food, too, like French onion soup, artichoke hearts, and many other great appetizers. Seafood, there's salmon, shrimp scampi, New Zealand orange roughy, halibut, Lake Superior whitefish, and specialties like veal marsala, piccata, and parmigiana. Plus, we've got a great roast rack of lamb, chicken piccata, and cordon bleu, and pasta dishes, too. Steaks, filet, New York, Chateaubriand for two. Much more, too, including pork chops, prime rib of beef, and an incredibly extra large cut of prime rib. It's the Dresden Restaurant, open for lunch Monday through Saturday and dinner Monday through Sunday. Check us out at 1760 North Vermont Avenue or call 323-665-4294.
Trying to sell your old car? Instead, donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind. Pickup is free and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats, whether they run or not. Call right now and receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call 1-800-785-9618. Donate your car today. That's 1-800-785-9618.
The smartest way for you to get the lowest prices on your plane tickets, domestic or international, is to call SmartFares, first or last, but you've got to call us before you book your plane tickets. Fly anywhere in the world, fly anywhere in the U.S., and SmartFares can save you up to 75% on your plane tickets. We have the lowest airline ticket prices on over 500 airlines, and you've got a great 12-hour free cancellation window. Plus, with our live agent help, you can always get fast help and fast answers. So on your next trip, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, how about right now? Pick up your phone and call SmartFares, plus save up to 75% on your plane reservation. So call right now. 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644.
Okay. We're back with Dr. Joseph Bryan, and we're talking about breaking the conspiracy of silence on domestic violence. Dr. Bryan is the pastor of Calvary Hill Community Church in San Francisco, and he's the national director of Rainbow Push Sport. And Dr. Bryan, we were talking about the importance of communication skills and the 5 love languages and how they can be very helpful in terms of getting people to speak to the other person in a language that makes them feel loved. So I'm just going to review them very quickly for the audience. One of them is loving words of encouragement. There's some people that just you have to tell them all the time, I love you, love you, love you, or you did such a good job with what you're doing. They want to be praised, and, they have to hear it. They're very auditory. Then you have people that they want gifts, little tokens, like if you go out of town or you go to another city, you got to bring them a little cup from the airport.
Sure.
Something, that says, oh, I thought about you, little forget-me-nots. They love little bitty gifts. And it can just be a card, but they want something tangible, a little gift. And then there are people who love what's called acts of service. That when they are busy and they, are trying to do things around the house, and they say, oh, can you go run to the store and get this for me? Or can you go, do that, outside, and that would help me out. And if you don't do it, they don't feel loved.
That's right. That's right.
And then you have people that want you to spend quality time with them. And if I have a friend, Ed, he's like in his 80s. And if I don't drop by and come and see him, as whenever I can, he just doesn't feel loved. I don't have to give him gifts. I don't have to call him and say, Ed, I love you. He's like, but you haven't come to see me. And he wants quality time. And then there are people who need intimate touch. They want to be hugged. You got to hold their hand.
Affection.
Yeah,
sure.
They need affection. And if it's little kids, they're always, sitting on your lap. Or if it's a man, sex is very important. If intimate touch is their, love language. And so you have to know what their primary language is and their secondary language is. And so, for instance, mine is gifts, love gifts, okay? But I also need, the little tokens of, acts of service. If I need help, I'm only going to ask when I really, really need it. So either one of those will work for me. But, everybody yesterday was saying, wow, if people could really just grasp those 5 little things, then you would never have a child who didn't feel loved. Because if that kid needs to be hugged and you're just saying, oh, I love you, get out of my way, they're just never going to feel loved.
Sure.
And then there's Don Miguel Ruiz's The 4 Agreements, which is to not take anything personal, don't make assumptions, to always do your best, and to be impeccable with your word. Now, with those 2 protocols, I can pretty much address everything, and I'm sure you've encountered that when you have people that go to anger in from 0 to 2 seconds, they generally are taking things personal, or they've made an assumption. So I'd just like for you to discuss how those tactics are helpful in the work that you do.
In the book I wrote on marriage, it's called "It's Work, But It's Worth It." I reference love language as a critical part of successful marriage, because in all the years I've done any type of marriage counseling or premarital sessions or any other conflict resolution conversations around relationships, the glaring omission consistently has been that someone has missed someone's love language.
Yes.
And then that has been the trigger oftentimes to whatever comes next, to the neglect, to the abandonment, to the, a lot of things that happen that are the negative result of something being triggered. Oftentimes it's because of the omission of love language, and that's not just in the most extreme cases. Oftentimes it's the pathology of the settled relationship where we're just settling, we're just here, we're just going to put up with each other because we've been here so long and we got kids.
Crazy. Yeah.
Without love language, it becomes very hollow, it becomes very empty, and people will suffer oftentimes in silence because of that. And so I try to not only talk about it in marriage counseling and in premarital training, but I also at least once a year try to do some type of sermonic presentation series on love and on love languages, because it's so critical to healthy relationships, and they're so simple as you just articulated them. And once you find your own, I think a lot of times it's got to be a safe and embracing environment for you to even talk about your own.
Exactly.
Because, you will probably be joined with somebody whose love language is the exact opposite of yours.
Of course.
So you cannot belittle them because their love language is different. If they want acts of service and
then
you
give
want
them acts
gifts,
of service.
then there's nothing wrong with either of you. You're just different. It's the same as you like chocolate and I like strawberry ice cream. Neither one of us is wrong. We just have different appetite.
Yeah.
And it's the same way with relationships. It's the same way with our interaction, that we have to be okay with the fact that our mate, our partner, our significant other oftentimes is not like us.
Mm-hmm.
And if we really want to have a successful and healthy relationship, we have to love them in the way that they need, not in the way that I need.
Totally.
But I need to also tell you what my need is. Otherwise, I can't be mad if you don't meet it, because I didn't tell you what it is.
Yeah,
so.
we're not mind readers. Did you hear Sheila?
I hear her.
No, absolutely. Because you know how in the South, mothers love to feed. It's acts of service. And so, they're not necessarily demonstrative. They're not trying to hug you, tell you they love you. They're like, come on, I'm feeding you. Don't you understand that that's my love language? It's like they assume that you understand that that's their love language is acts of service. And so they will naturally assume that you get it, because that's their love language. Mm-hmm. And so that's an excellent point. But you also made another point that I think is very, very cogent, is you have these people that stay in relationships and they settle, and there is no love. I mean, they have nothing in common.
Right.
They're just there for convenience or whatever. And I think, whenever I see those couples, I feel so sad, because it's like death warmed over. You see them, and it's like, what is your point? And
right.
How do you address that with couples, so that, because, marriage shouldn't be miserable. It should not be misery and suffering.
That's right. I think you make a good point, though, about how over time people have gotten used to certain things, and sometimes you get used to nothing.
Yeah.
You can eventually program yourself to just not have any expectation.
That's sad.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's unhealthy.
Yeah.
And it oftentimes needs some type of intervention, some type of addressing of issues that may need to come to the forefront. But when I see couples or meet with couples, and we actually have so many counselors in our congregation, and I'm very grateful for our counseling program, that I don't have to do nearly as much counseling as I used to do the first half of my pastorate. But I do more counseling now with athletes and others that I deal with on a national scale from one of the other organizations you mentioned. But I think it's important that people realize that the reflection of your marriage is supposed to be a reflection of God's relationship with his people.
Thank you.
And therefore, if your relationship is not giving glory to him and glowing for others, then you are doing God and self a disservice.
Thank you.
And so, my father always used to say when I was growing up, just in terms of his very direct marital advice, he would say very simply, life is too short to be miserable.
Thank you.
And so that was my dad's marital advice. And we would hang out on occasion when I was a teenager and into my young adult years, and that was his marital advice. Life is too short to be miserable, and that's it. So
well, and Dr. Bryan, I've always said that it's very unfortunate when people get married to the institution of marriage versus getting married to the individual.
Absolutely.
And helping, because to me, a marriage should be this friendship and this partnership
Right.
where we're in each other's lives to complement each other, to support each other, to help each other expand and grow and have fun in whatever ways possible, and that doesn't mean that I have to do everything you do or you have to do everything I do,
Certainly.
but that you take joy in what I do and that
Right.
I take joy and pride in whatever you do. And, there's this bliss that is inherent in that type of exchange.
Right,
Whereas,
absolutely.
you see these relationships where they're both trying to hold each other down and they're not trying to grow. And I just think that we need to revamp that
Right.
and redefine the whole, purpose of
Right,
marriage.
right, sure. They're either trying to hold each other down, or oftentimes they're trying to compete with each other
Yes.
instead of compliment
Which is
and,
worse.
and encourage each other, which is absolutely worse. So one of the things that, again, we talked about this earlier in our session here. The word partnership and to be a partner means that we're both contributing to the betterment of the whole.
Yes.
And I often attribute it to the way we view the game of tennis. You can be a singles player, or you can be a doubles player.
There
And
you
so
go.
What marriage is you're playing doubles. That means that you run wherever you need to run, and you go wherever you need to go, and you hit whatever you need to hit, because it benefits your side, it benefits your partnership, it
Yes.
benefits your team, and your partner is to do likewise. And
Yeah.
so when you see yourself now moving from playing a singles game to playing a doubles game, you understand that in a very real way your contribution will always affect the other person. And because it's a God union, it also is necessary to remember that God says now that you are one, what you do will affect you both. It affects the other. And so
Totally.
withholding love and or competing in an unhealthy way actually does damage to you. I hurt myself as a
Truly.
married person if I try to make things difficult for my spouse,
Yes.
because then I'm hence making difficult for me, because we are now one.
And it doesn't make you look good or very evolved. It's not very manly to be competing with a woman. And what's interesting, Dr. Bryan, is last month Psychology Today did an article where they were talking about a study with couples where they assessed them right before how healthy their relationship was, and then they came out and they told the men, they took a test, and then they came out and told the men, every one of them, that their girlfriend or their spouse had scored higher than them on an IQ test. And they found that the men who saw their relationships as a partnership, and that was a very small percentage of them,
Right.
that they were, it didn't bother them. They were like, oh, well, this is good. So,
Sure.
that's going to help the marriage because I can use that, as an asset. But the majority of the men got competitive and they felt
Sure.
emasculated and immediately went into this competitiveness. And what they concluded is that the majority of men that were tested have a problem with women that are smarter than them. and that are more powerful
many,
than them.
Many of the brothers do, unfortunately, and the competitive nature that we have, that is a part of our DNA as well as our socialization, comes out in the wrong ways.
Right.
I mean, it's okay for us to have those bents of competitive edge that are part of being, quote, a man, but
Or
they have to be
successful.
used exactly. They have to be used in a healthy way. They have to
Right.
be used in an appropriate way, and marriage is not one of them. And
Exactly.
so I'm not competing with my spouse. I am in union with my spouse.
Yes.
I'm a compliment to him or to her, depending on if it's the man or the woman speaking. And so I think it's important what you just mentioned, though, about men. And this goes back to where abuse oftentimes can have a silent escalation. Because if a man is insecure
Yes.
and feels inferior,
Yes.
then
That's the
it's something
core.
as simple as the fact that your wife may be a little bit smarter on an IQ test, or may make a little bit more money, or whatever the case may be, becomes a real point of
Contention.
defeat and
Yeah.
conflict in the man's mind and heart. And so, it's important that we as we go into relationships, make good choices for our mate. And the Bible talks about equals and not being unequally yoked.
Yes,
and
yes.
Not being unequally yoked is not just about your religious affiliations and views on spirituality.
Yeah, it's a metaphor.
Also has to do with unequally in your mindset of life, your place of life. And, you can fall, quote, in love with people, but you also have to accept them for who they are.
Totally.
And it's just easier if you're of the mindset to find someone that is, quote, on your level. And I often say to people, when you're running the race that is you, the best partner is going to be one that joins the race with you, that you don't have to stop and help or try to go in a different direction, but that they can actually run with you lockstep.
Wonderful point. Amazing. You're listening to Dr. Joseph Bryan. He is the pastor of Calvary Hill Community Church, and we're having an amazing discussion about breaking the conspiracy of silence. There's no silence here on domestic violence. We will be back wrapping this up. You're listening to Divine Love Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, and you can reach me at drparthenia.com.
Come to Angelo's and Vinci's Ristorante in Fullerton, California for authentic family-style Italian dinners. Come to Angelo's and Vinci's and celebrate your party or event in one of our festive banquet rooms. Angelo's and Vinci's, Fullerton, California, 550 North Harbor Boulevard. Named the Orange County Hot List Top 5 Italian restaurant for 7 years in a row. And a Top 10 pizza restaurant by Gale, featuring traditional and award-winning pizzas. Offering Sunday champagne brunch from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., just $16.95. Choose from over 20 items, plus create your own personal omelet. Delicious lunches, including our express lunch buffet, $8.95 with over 15 items, and dinner 7 days a week. Getting married? Angelo's and Vinci's won this year's Wedding Wire Couples Choice Award. You can talk to our experienced staff of wedding coordinators. We treat you as guests at your own wedding reception. It's all at Angelo's and Vinci's Ristorante at 550 North Harbor Boulevard in Fullerton, California. Call 714-879-4022. 714-879-4022.
The smartest way for you to get the lowest prices on your plane tickets, domestic or international, is to call SmartFares first or last, but you've got to call us before you book your plane tickets. Fly anywhere in the world, fly anywhere in the U.S., and SmartFares can save you up to 75% on your plane tickets. We have the lowest airline ticket prices on over 500 airlines, and you've got a great 12-hour free cancellation window. Plus, with our live agent help, you can always get fast help and fast answers. So on your next trip, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, how about right now? Pick up your phone and call SmartFares, plus save up to 75% on your plane reservation. So call right now. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644.
Is your business paying too much for your water? Pure Water Technology provides the world's best fully monitored, self-cleaning, bottle-less water purification coolers for your employee drinking water. That's right, I said bottle-less. Because Pure Water Technology can provide you and your employees with a much healthier and cost-efficient alternative than what you're currently using. And we provide free trials. Pure Water Technology has technology unlike any other company. And you can save an average office over 6,000 gallons of water annually. So you can do your part for our California drought, save water, at the same time have happier, healthier employees. We use new reverse osmosis technology. It's available only through Pure Water Technology. No one else has this system. And we save water too. Log on to ditchthebottle.com or call 888-790-7873 for free information and your free trial. 888-790-7873. Call now.
Okay, we're back wrapping this up on Divine Love Talk. Dr. Bryan, I was just talking to Sheila about you're the real deal. You know, I find so many spiritual leaders out there, men and women, who talk the talk, but they're not walking the walk. there's no integrity. There's this huge incongruency between, what they preach and teach and how they actually live their lives. And I think that this, the whole transparency and authenticity, that is the real valuable currency today.
Sure.
Try to find somebody that's, actually transparent, that's actually authentic, and you got to dig deep.
You really do, and I thank you for that. That's very kind. I'm very grateful for the learning process that I'm still in. Just learning how to be the best person that therefore can be the best husband, father, son, and then the best leader that I can be. And relationships are of very, high value to me. I mean, again, my first book was It's Work, But It's Worth It on marriage. My second book was a book on family called Family Matters.
Yeah.
And, we're always of the mind that, whatever you really are is who you are at home.
Exactly.
And I tell my wife all the time, it really doesn't matter what I do outside and who I meet and who I talk to and what platform I may be on. If I'm not winning at home, I'm not really winning.
You got that right.
And so even this morning before I came to the office, one of my commitments, because my wife's love language is acts of service, one of my commitments is that every day, because I'm an early riser, I'm always up at least an hour to 2 hours before she is. Every day when she wakes up, there will be something that's already done in the house when she arises. And so this morning I got laundry going while I knew she was still sleeping, and I got a load of laundry going, and I did some work in the kitchen so that when she got up, there were already some things happening that showed my love for her. And so because that's her love language, I know that's important to her.
Of course.
My love language is affirmation. And so it's important for me, to know, that I'm winning at home. Even if I do a good job other places, it's more important for my wife to remind me that I've done well taking care of the children and making sure the bills are taken care of and getting kids registered for extra school activities and things like that. Because at the end of the day, that's where I got to win, in life. And if I can do that, then everything else, can flow real smooth.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, you're the same at home as you are in person, because all of these multiple personas and personalities of people, I mean, it's rather disturbing.
Isn't it?
Yeah, because I'm like the same, today, yesterday, tomorrow. My temperament is what you see is what you get. And if there's a problem, I'm going to try to communicate with you. And I don't believe that there is a problem that can't be solved with just open, honest communication.
Sure.
So I really, really honor you for living that, and not just talking it, but living it. And I'm going to have you back on the show.
It's been a pleasure, Dr. Grant. I really do thank you so much for all that you do and all the contributions that you make and all the value you bring to so many people's lives. And congratulations on this amazing ongoing show and outreach and really the impact that you have through your voice, your experiences, and your wisdom. It's a blessing. And thank you for giving me a chance to share a few minutes with you today.
Well, I can't, it went so fast. I wish we had more time, but you have certainly uplifted not just men, but, you've given women hope out there. So what's your website again?
JosephBryantJr.com. Thank you so much.
All right, check him out, people. And we will be back next week with more of Divine Love Talk on CRN. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, thanking you for tuning in and encouraging you to download the CRN app, crntalk.com app on your phone so that you can listen on the go.
CRN Digital Talk Radio prides itself on being the station of every situation. And you can listen to us on nearly any platform and device. Download to your iPhone, Android, and BlackBerry episodes of What's Cookin'. And take Master Sommelier Michael Jordan with you to the wine shop so he can help you pick out that perfect bottle of wine. Stream episodes of the Sonoma Wine Report through our CRN app. TuneIn Radio, Nobex, Stitcher, UTunes, or AHA Radio, and start planning that unforgettable weekend in the wine country. They're in your corner on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and many other apps. And of course, you can always listen live through your local cable TV provider, as well as on our website at crntalk.com. For more